and
like
friends.
6 a.m.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with the roll call. So, going down the line, Senator Hart. Here. Thank you. Senator Sharaf. If you're over Zoom, raise your hand, put something in chat. Thank you. Senator Woldekainen. Here. Thank you. Senator Wing.
Howdy.
Thank you. Senator Dermenci. Here. Thank you. Senator Victor Wynn. Over Zoom.
Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Ibarra.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goma. Senator Goma. Looks like I see it here. Yep. Senator Nurala.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. Senator Tapp. Senator Tapp. Do not see. Senator Pickle.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Senator, Senator Zigweed.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mesta.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mueller. Over Zoom. Thank you. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Destined.
Thank.
Thank you. Glad to have you back. Senator Blanchard.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goff. Zoom? No. All right. Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roiger.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Andry.
Here.
Thank you. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. All right, perfect. Moving right along, our first order is presentations. We had a slight bumping of presentations. So we're gonna have fraternity sorority life go first, followed by SAC. Is fraternity sorority life ready?
Yeah.
Cool, perfect. Then you guys can start whenever you want, and you have up to 10 minutes.
All right, sweet.
Alright, so we're going to be talking to you guys about our experience at AFLP that we were just at that conference a couple weeks ago. Okay.
I'm Colin Juding. I'm the current president of the Interfraternity Council here at Mankato State. I oversee the operation of the council and make sure that everything's running smoothly.
And then I'm Morgan Rustler. I am the current Panhellenic Council president, and I also oversee the Panhellenic Council, making sure all the position holders are feeling supported and that they're reaching their full potential in their positions. So what AFLV is, it is the Association of Fraternal Leadership and Values, and it also combines the National Black Greek Leadership Conference, which is the largest and most diverse fraternal gathering in the country. And the purpose of this is just to help all FSL members kind of grow into their leadership roles, grow as leaders, and also bring those back, things they learn back to their communities and bring them to their campuses to help their campuses grow as well. And so this was combined with chapters from campuses, over 150 campuses around the country, including what we have here, which is the IFC, so the Interfraternity Council, and NPC, which is the National Panhellenic Council, and then the National Panhellenic Council, which is the diverse group. And so we got to hear from some different keynote speakers, some about transitioning into being a new college student and dealing with hardships, the state of youth culture, and then also things about being real and living through your own values as well as your chapter's values, and then also how to overcome different barriers.
So these are also just some examples. The pictures aren't very good, but it just kind of shows you what the presentations were about. I know I went to one on creating an effective collaboration. I think Morgan went with me. And that was just kind of about how to make sure meetings run smoothly, efficiently, and get the most out of the time we have. Just some team building. There was a lot of it in our chapters because, I mean, there's 6 fraternities, 4 sororities, and we don't hang out with them on a regular basis all the time. So it was really nice to get to meet everyone else in the community and become friends with people that I didn't really know existed before this trip. And now I can say that some of our really good friends. We spent 4 days and 24 hours on a bus, so got a lot.
And then this is just some of the things that from some of us that were attending it. So especially like Avery, she is our current risk management on the Panhellenic Council. And so one of the sessions she attended was on preventing sexual assault. And she now knows more about like the different signs and how to help people in different situations. And so she's gonna be using that this coming month especially, or in April, with Sexual Assault Awareness Month and taking that into her position. Myself, I found it really empowering to hear from all these different leaders, and it was really influential. And I also came back with some ideas that I'm going to be working on to try and get all RSOs a little bit more collaborative with each other and help us all support each other a bit more.
So Brandon, who is our current Vice President of Recruitment, so AFOB was nothing short of a learning experience. The connections and friends I was able to make are all due to AFOB. During the trip, I discussed with chapters from different colleges about problems and how to solve them around campus. And Richard, who is our Diversity and Outreach Vice President, says, AFOB was a great experience. I got to connect and learn from so many different chapters, including my own. And I got to see how different chapters solve many issues we have. It was a very informative trip, and I plan to improve things with what I learned.
All right, and then this is just some of our upcoming events in FSL. So we have our Greek Week, which is April 10th through the 14th. Our next All Greek is March 29th. We'll be doing stuff for Mabathon during Greek Week in April. And then we also have more of our Here to Help training sessions coming up, which is training on alcohol overdose and how to help people in those situations. And then, of course, in April, on April 5th, our VPs of Risk Management will be holding a Sexual Assault Awareness Month event, and we're working on collaborating with BART for a different event as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you very much. Then I'm gonna have you guys stick up for just a little second longer to see if we have any questions. I see we have a question from Senator Roberts.
Just to make sure I have funded.
Thank you guys so much, did an amazing job. All right, next up for presentations, I have SAP. Once again, you have up to 10 minutes, and it won't start until you start.
Get your notebooks out, everyone.
This is a big one.
And be efficient.
And be nice to Sierra. Yeah, motion on the floor.
A motion to extend Sierra's time to up to 30 minutes.
Up to 30 minutes, motion has been made. Is there a second on that motion? Second from Senator Andre. Is there dissent to that motion? There is dissent. I see division. We're gonna do a real quick show of placards. All in favor of raising it to 30 minutes, raise your placard. 2, 3. If you're on Zoom, raise a hand. I see 4 from 1 from Zoom, and then 5 from James. Okay, down, and all opposed. 2. Okay, looks like we're not raising it to 30 minutes. So, Sierra, you can start whenever you are ready.
All right, so to get started, this is the student activity fee budget presentation by Zach. I was the chair. I served alongside Senator Mesta as well as Abraham. So 3 members this year, 2 of us were senators. We're responsible for hearing different presentations from a bunch of different areas and making recommendations regarding the RSL program and travel funding requests throughout the year. And then specifically in the spring semester, we are responsible for hearing and making recommendations for the student activity fee funded programs during the fiscal year budget process. And we've spent the last 2 months working with these budgets. So that's been the department hearings. So every Friday we had 3 hours where we first spent the first 2 hours hearing presentations and then the last hour talking about it and doing business. So some goals we had this year was remaining aware of the current fee caps as well as state rules on what we are allowed to do and cannot do. We also wanted to make sure we minimized the impact by spreading decreases across programming areas. We're also starting with $116,320 less due to projected reduction of credit hour fees. And then we wanted to make sure we were still able to support student leadership and growth. And then we assisted in the determination of the SAF subsidy for over 15 different areas. So, an example of the layout, the FY23 base that covers, for example, this current academic year we're in. FY24 requested is for the next academic year after July 1st, and then our recommendation. So, getting into it, starting with campus recreation, which includes intramural sports. The base was the $778,678, and they requested $848,000. We're recommending $813,500. They did a bit of adjustment to their lines and stuff so that GAs are budgeted in, so that it's just better aligned with what student activities does. $4,822. It includes the full-time salary and fringe increases and consideration for the loss of work-study students. And we recognize the significance of campus rec, but also making sure to spread the decreases that everyone's facing. Moving on to sports clubs, their base this year was $20,000. We're recommending $18,600. A decrease of $1,400, again, minimizing the overall impact by spreading it a bit. Moving on to Maverick Adventures, their FY23 base was $20,864. They requested almost $31,000, and we are recommending $24,800. It's an increase of $3,936. Mainly student salary increases due to the need for more student workers. Yeah. And then for the campus rec R&R fund, their FY23 base is $10,000. They requested $20,000. We are recommending to maintain them for at least one more year. Again, with the budget impacts right now and with student fee cap, not knowing what's happening with that. But yeah. On to forensics. Their FY23 base was $16,500 and they requested the same amount. We are recommending $15,180, a decrease of $1,320. We recognize the work they do and the awards they've received and stuff, but again, minimizing the impact by spreading it. Onto the gender and sexuality programs. Their FY23 base is $55,000. They requested a maintenance of that. We are recommending $51,150, so a decrease of $3,850. But looking at smaller events with the bigger, higher impacts, like the drag bingo they did a few weeks back and stuff, so looking at those kind of programs. Onto the green fee. So their FY23 base was $400,000. They requested $440,000, and we were recommending $409,200. So an increase of $9,200. We recognize the work the bus does and the importance to the students, but again, just trying to minimize the impact by spreading it a bit. The non-budgeted request fund, RSO club travel / programs. The 23 base was $25,000. FY24 requested was $25,000, and we are recommending $20,000 or a decrease of $5,000. We recognize the important role this plays in travel and programming funds across campus, but again, spreading that impact. Repertory dance. FY23 base was $5,000. They requested $5,000, and we are recommending $4,650. A decrease of $350. They're already in talks of other ways to fulfill budget obligations, so And then they've been very fiscally responsible for the past 5 years, looking at their budgets, so. On to the reporter. Their FY23 base, $133,699. They requested $136,645. We are recommending that $136,645. This funds the full-time salary and fringe only, so just a basic contractual increase, and we also recognize the awards and the work they do and the effort to bring students important information. Reporter equipment R&R fund. The FY23 base is $0. They requested $4,000. We're recommending $0, at least for another year, to minimize the impact by spreading decreases across programming areas. Staff administration, or the business service office. Their FY23 base is $229,390. They requested the same amount. We are recommending $225,950, a decrease of $3,440. This allows the full-time salary and fringe to still be fulfilled, while also recognizing everybody's got a lot of cuts happening. So, yeah, moving on. Student Activities Administration Office. FY23 base is $608,000. They requested $665,203. We are recommending $649,720, an increase of $41,270. This fulfills any full-time salary and fringe benefits. Also puts into consideration less work-study students, and again, minimizing impact by spreading the decreases. Community engagement, Mavs in Action. Their FY23 base was $10,000. They requested $10,400, and we are recommending $9,775, a decrease of $225.
That is our time, but this is very important, so I would 100% entertain a motion. I see a motion on the table. How long do you want to extend?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Seconded. Any dissent? Perfect. Keep going.
All right, a decrease of $225, again, minimizing that impact by spreading it. FSL, so their FY23 base is $10,000. They requested $15,000. We are recommending $12,500, or an increase of $2,500. We recognize the major cut they had happen last year, and we also see the growth that has happened through the recruitment efforts that they have made and continue to make, as well as the important role they play on campus life. Homecoming. The FY23 base was $50,525. They requested $53,000. We are recommending $49,290, or a decrease of $1,235. We recognize the cuts they have planned already for things to help with the budget, as well as they have an ability to flex the events to cover the impact while still providing a great week to students. Leadership, the Maverick Involvement Team. The FY23 base is $23,400. They requested a maintenance. We are recommending $21,760, a decrease of $1,640. We recognize the increase given in the past year for student stipends, and also recognizing the different budget situations we were in last year versus this year. So, Non-Traditional Student Resource Center, their FY23 base is $2,000. They requested $2,000. We're recommending $1,900, a decrease of $100. They have been fiscally responsible. They're under new leadership this year, and they also have an ability to cover the impacted funds, that $100. RSOs, so the FY23 base is $3,900. FY24 requested $3,900. We are recommending $3,705, otherwise a decrease of $195. The impact of the cut, it wasn't detrimental to the operations of the group. So yeah. Student Events Team, FY23 base of $156,975. They requested the same. We are recommending $149,125, a decrease of $7,850. Reasons, Again, minimizing the impact by spreading decreases across programming areas, and they are already in the works of reducing budget expenditures in areas such as Stomper Cinema. Student government, FY23 base, $130,481, requested $128,015. We are recommending the $128,15, which is a decrease of $2,466. That decrease came from student leadership, so we went with that. And then theater, the FY23 base, $71,000. They requested $71,000, and we are recommending $65,320, a decrease of $5,680. Reasons: they've got outside funds to help cover any shortfalls they may face, as well as, again, minimizing the impact by spreading it. Veterans Resource Programming, FY23 base, $6,500. They requested $6,500. We are recommending $5,915, a decrease of $585. We recognize the large increase in funds given in the past few years, as well as they've been very flexible with how they spend their money each year. So, overall budget impact. So FY23 base, $2,977,062. The FY24 request was almost $3.2 million. So the additional was $204,566. The original recommendation for SAC was the $3,025,800, which was an increase of 1.64% from FY23 base. We're recommending $132,000 from reserves, and then our final recommendation is $2,893,800. And then the next slide has a bit more of the calculation. So the fee projection as recommended, it would be an 8.96% increase to student fee. And then it would be $10.21 per credit. And then with the 12 to 18 credits, it would be $122.52. And again, requesting $132,000 from reserves. And the talks of the 8.96 has gone through VP Straka and many other folks to make sure we're within reason too. So, and then questions.
All right. We're once again opening it up for questions. I will remind people this is not an opportunity for a debate. This is an opportunity to clarify. Debate comes in 2 weeks. So, I'm going to give it to Senator Roberts.
The
3
first
weeks.
question I have is on the Maverick Adventures. Have the I know that you said the GAs were accounted for in the campus rec area, but are they accounted for in the Maverick Adventures area?
I don't have my book. Emma looks like she's.
Maverick Adventures used to be a pilot program. It's been around for 7 years, so they are now under the campus recreation. So on your thing, you'll see campus rec, and then under it, you see sports clubs, things like that. Maverick Adventures is now under there since they are no longer a pilot program, and campus rec has included them in the budget. So their staff lines are divided among all of that, at least to my understanding, open to, I know Todd's here, is that right?
So we're realigning, Sierra mentioned that, similar to what student activities does. So we're taking Sam Steiger's salary out of 331-403 Maverick Adventures, moving it into the general campus rec 331-400 cost center, along with those 3 GAs. One was in the trip and travel, the 404 cost center, which is going away. And then there was 2 more GAs in the 403 Maverick Adventures cost center. So all those 3 GAs are also going over to 331-400.
Perfect. Cool, cool. Then in that case, Senator Destin.
What was the general guideline used in terms of the reduction? Was there a fixed reduction strategy? Because I realized that there are some of them that have over 50% deduction, and some of them just slightly. So I just want to know the guideline.
Yeah, so the way we looked at reductions and stuff was we took what was requested, because In our minds, if you requested an increase, then there was a reason behind needing that, so we didn't want to take your FY23 base and reduce off that. So we took what was requested, and then we looked at a general percentage between like what would a 2% cut look like, what would 5%, what would even 6, 7, or 8% look like. And then we again looked through our books and looked through every single presentation individually to make sure that we weren't just doing in across the board, everybody gets cut 5% kind of thing, and we were looking at what each area is truly spending their money on and making sure it was beneficial for students the most. So.
Thank you very much, Senator Blanchard.
Before we go into our meeting in 3 weeks, can we get like the last maybe 4 years of the numbers? Because I know last year some of them had like a 50% increase or a 60% increase, or like big cuts last year as well.
I'm aware that our documentation usually includes at least the year prior, and oftentimes the year before that. And I know that we have that in the teams. If we can just like make that easily accessible, that is more than easily something that we can do.
Awesome. I think that would be helpful. And then I have a follow-up too, is that okay?
I'm gonna go to Senator Pickle and then I'll come back.
Oh, no, because you haven't asked the question.
When you were looking for like the decreases and all, were you analyzing, like taking a look at how many students are impacted by like organization, like how many students will use a specific budget line?
Yeah, so it was a bit of looking at how many students were going to the events involved in the program, such as band, choir, as well as looking at how much students currently pay in to be involved in those areas. Because some areas, say you're a part of this, you have to pay a fee to do the travel. So we looked at that and determined based off that, but it was so varying that we made sure we were going individually for each area, so.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
So I'm gonna go over to international activities. How many organizations do they support under their budget?
I do not currently have my book on me, but it is a few of them.
Is that acceptable, or do we want to reference Mark if you have the information?
I'd love to yield to Mark if Mark has the answer.
All the international organizations that fall within Kearney Center would be there. I think the number is around 17, with potential. Just to know that budget, it's important to know this. Out of their total budget, a lot of their budget is administrative. Go to some of their GAs because they help all those organizations put their programs on and those type of things as well. So out of the 60,000 that they typically would get, they hold so much money to be able to give as starter money for other student organizations.
Thank you very much, Senator Blanchard.
Yeah, so with that 132,000 out of reserves, what will that leave the reserves at for next year?
Do we have the number on hand? Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so right now reserves stand at about 600,000, roughly, so rough numbers, about $600,000, about 2,000 of which we cannot touch due to system guidelines. You need a certain percentage of your budget in reserves in case COVID. And then, so of that we have about 400,000 usable reserves, so what is that? 270 will be left, or 265 will be left?
It's like 30%.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a finance major.
Yeah, can we yield to Mark? Is that right? No,
Yeah, I want to give you some, Emma's number was correct related to the 600, but she's forgetting one piece of it is all just because it's so confusing to all of us. We really have about $800,000 in reserves, but when we hold that piece back that the state requires us, it will drop it to 600. So that's the number we would officially have. But we all know this and we've all talked about this. Any money you use for reserves is going to be kicked down the road for the next year. So, you know, the larger that gets, the harder it's going to be for the next group, and depending on what that fee cap is. So it was $600,000 is what we've been saying in the past, thanks to our leadership and things like that. That would be the pot you could use versus the 800 and some thousand that's officially in there.
Thank you.
Senator Destin.
So specifically with the recommended amount for student events team, for instance, so there is $7,850 decrease, and Campo Rec, for instance, also requested they also have like significant decrease. Can you explain a little bit how these decreases were made and what are the effects that you foresee to happen if these were made?
Yeah, so student events team it's specifically to student events team. So that's slightly different, whereas campus rec, the overall, is that what you're referring to?
So the equipment, so they requested 20,000 and you recommended 10,000. So
Yes.
that's like 50%.
We believe they can go one more year at least while we fix the budget and stuff with the student fee cap, reaching that without hurting it too much. So that's kind of where our thoughts were with that, with just keeping it at the 10,000 for the R&R.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
I believe Nesta was before, but oh, I'm sorry. David Wing, I apologize.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
In terms of the non-budgeted RSO, how much has been used this year, just as a comparison for roughly, approximately?
Yeah. So the way it's done, for those of you who may not know, that is basically the SAC money that we use to recommend different budget or requests to y'all. And we look at how much has been requested and we just subtract our numbers based off that versus what's actually been used is very different. So right now it looks like there's no money there, but that's also because we're looking at, there's a ton of groups who we haven't gotten reimbursement requests from, so there's a good chunk still up. Mark, if you have a better explanation.
I'll yield.
Go for it.
I think Sarah did a great job with that. I mean, she was accurate. We're in a hole right now in that budget by a couple $100, but their advisors, SAC's advisors, Teresa and myself, said let's not worry about the hole at this point in time, because by the time you get to May, that money doesn't all get collected, there's money left over. So typically, in other years, we've had money in that budget overall. When you see this cut, I will say this though, the reason why that was recommended is because we were trying to save money to the reserves. And we would say the same thing next year to SAC. If we get below that $20,000, we would come back to this body to ask for money out of the reserves, potentially to put in that if we got into that hole. But the work that SAC did on this particular budget by dropping it 5,000 was really to help the bottom line and not hurt the reserves as much immediately right now. It might affect it next year, but we're trying to help this year more than anything.
I will also note that Mark, as the advisor for SAC, if you wish, you can join Sierra as part of the presentation group, and then you don't have to worry about people yielding to you, and you can still keep sitting if you want to as well.
Sarah's doing a great job. She's the one that should answer the questions. If she needs help at all on anything, she can yield to me if she wants to.
Perfect. Senator Wing.
So I saw that there was an additional 40,000 that was requested by the green fee. That was only warranted a $9,000 increase. Will we see decreases in the availability of lines, or is this going to be maintaining our current system?
That would go to the Transportation Advisory Committee to look at different options, as well as I believe Cowan would present in front of everyone here. That would really be on them to look at. Yeah.
Okay.
Senator Destin.
So I have two questions. Can I ask them or just come back on?
Okay, Senator Roberts.
So I noticed the staff admin got a slight cut. I know that you said that the salary and fringe was cut, but you didn't. I didn't see what was exactly targeted there in terms of what you wanted to see cut.
Yeah, so it wasn't the salary and fringe that was cut, that was fulfilled. However, in our presentation, what they showed us is at least 209,000 goes just to salary and fringe. And then we looked at what was left over from their budget and we cut based off that. So that we weren't cutting the salary and fringe, which is contractual stuff. We were only looking at the extra.
Thank you very much. Senator Destin, do you have something, or is your placard still up?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So the first question is, what is the impact of having $7,850 deduction on student activities? What is the impact you think gonna happen to their programming?
On student events teams,
Yeah, student events.
they presented us with a bunch of different options, and it's really up to each area to look at how they're gonna fund their program with between what we recommend and what student government recommends. We cannot dictate what they do with their budget in any way. We knew everyone was gonna be impacted by this budget season with the fee caps and stuff, so yeah, it's really up to the group to decide how that impacts them.
Thank you very much, Senator Roberts.
Alrighty, in terms of the non-traditional, you said one of the reasons listed was new leadership. I'm a little confused what you mean by that. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I believe her name's Michelle.
Yeah.
Yes, Michelle is the new leader of the non-traditional resource area. I'm gonna go back to that slide real quick, just so I can reference. Okay, so their cut of $100, if I'm remembering correctly, they did talk about most of that would go to just cutting printing materials, which most students see stuff via their emails, online, and they have the ability to cover those funds, that $100, so.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and limit the speakers list now, so this is the last call to get on the speakers list. I've got Roberts and Destin. Does anyone else want to get on the speakers list before we call it to a close on questioning here? All right, seeing none, then I'm gonna go to Destin.
Yeah, so for this, it's more like I know it's a question, but then a comment too from me as a senator.
No comments at this time.
Okay, I'll just ask the question then.
Okay.
So without using like a specific kind of guidelines in terms of the deduction we made as a student leadership, how do we justify the actions to our SOs that might be concerned that, oh, I have 50% of my budget decrease, whereas this person has 2% decrease? How do we justify without having like a fixed guideline of the deductions we make?
Mm-hmm. I will say, during our deliberation meeting that we had a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, we did, most of our cuts that we looked at stayed under double digits because we didn't want to be, completely cutting the huge events that each area does because we recognize how important that is, as well as the student leadership stipends. It's where we were at, and we were looking for what would have an impact without impacting too hard to everybody, if that makes sense.
Senator Roberts.
All right, so last question from me. In terms of homecoming, you said that they had planned cuts. What specifically were those planned cuts to make that work out to that number?
Yeah, so I especially recall the homecoming t-shirts they do. They just don't make the ROI on that, the return on the investment on those. So they are already looking at cutting those for next year. So that kind of cut.
Thank you very much. That was my last question on the speakers list. So I would like to say we recognize all of the work that you do here and the importance that you do. And thank you very much for presenting on behalf of SAC. I had to steal the SAC phrase for a second. But we're going into open forum now. Do we have anyone here for open forum? Anyone for open forum? Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move right along to the approval of the consent agenda. The approval of the consent agenda, do we have any dissent or amendments to the consent agenda? any dissent or amendments? Any dissent or amendments over Zoom? I do not see any hands. I will assume no dissent. Consent agenda is passed. Moving right along, the next thing we have up is officer reports. This is a bad time to pull Emma away because this is her officer report.
Go ahead, no.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do you want to go first?
No.
Oh.
I mean,
Okay. I yield to
Then in that case, Vice President Ibrahim going first.
Okay. So I have a couple updates from some meetings that me and Emma had, and I had my own meetings as well. So the Student Basic Needs Committee had their first meeting at the system level this week. So we just talk about like the first meeting, the things that we need to work on, some basic needs on campus, and just general in the purpose of these committees and how can we work together. President Commission on Status of Women had their meeting as well, so we talk about some strategy plans for the next couple years coming. The committee want to create a virtual and in-person opportunity for campus community to contact with the committees and address some concerns that people have. Also, Harris application has been nominated, so I can't wait to hear who got it. We still need help refilling our mini fridges on in our office. Me and James, Senator James, are just team tagging every week, but we need some extra hand, and you can use that as office hours. So please, if you're interested, let me know. The basic bias incident meeting. Also, there was some interesting report that they had last week. Some students came forward with some concerns. Some of them were talking about eggs thrown into the resident hall. There are racial slurs has been said to multiple students, so the team is looking into that. And I yield.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Vice President Ibrahim? Any questions? And seeing none, President Zelmer.
Okay, so a couple things. First, it's coming up on the deadline to apply for Students United officer positions. So if you're interested in running for or entering the hiring procedure for becoming the next state chair, vice chair, or treasurer / secretary, let me know. I can help you out with that. They are coming up soon. I think it's before the end of this month. So take a look at that. I'd be happy to talk with anyone about what those positions are, what they do, what you can expect. Those are paid positions. State chairs, 20 hours a week, $15, or I believe they're upping it next year, but it's about $15 an hour. They are hybrid. International students can apply. Is that for the internship or for officers? For officers. Are you sure? Okay. You're gonna get paid more than I did. You'll get paid $16 an hour. You also get paid time off and sick leave. So like you actually get paid for going on spring break and not doing anything. It's like a real job. Vice chair is 15 hours. Treasurer, I believe, is 7 or 8. So let me know if you're interested. I can help you out with that. I also am one of the 7 votes on electing that. So please talk to me about it if you're interested. The scholarship deadline for Students United is also coming up. They are also hiring the student leadership cohort on a first come first served basis. So there's 2 positions for Mankato. I know one has already been hired. So make sure that you apply for that as soon as possible. If you're interested in the student leadership cohort, which is an internship, again paid about $16 an hour, you can talk to Idman. She's currently one of in the leadership cohort. Beyond that, I will be going to DC next week with them to advocate at the federal level. I'll be meeting with FinStat as well as Klobuchar, Tina Smith. I'm also in some of the other districts meetings, but FinStat is again our representative. So we'll be talking about increases to Pell Grant, TRIO support, as well as there is a bill that was passed last year but never got through the Senate, I believe. I'm not sure about. It's kind of more of a value statement because there's no money attached to it for trying to ask colleges and universities to support mental health on their campus, so we'll be supporting that as well. Unless anyone's opposed to that, since we've already passed a bunch of mental health bills this year, I'm planning on telling them the Senate's in support of it. I was going to write a resolution in 30 minutes before the meeting, but decide against it because that's a bit of a undertaking. So please speak now if you don't support mental health of students. Cool. Okay, beyond that, we will be meeting with the President's Cabinet tomorrow through the Student Government Student Government Meet and Confer. With them, we'll be talking about the Ask You report. Read that tonight. If you have any hot takes on it, let us know. We've already kind of spoken to the President about it, as well as have spoken with some other departments to bring back some student thoughts on it. Again, they are just recommendations. He's not like making these changes tomorrow, so please take a look at it. We'll also be speaking to him about the reflection space, like the reflection and prayer area, and trying to push forward the recommendation that was from a reflection space task force in 2021. They reported that there should be a room for it, so we're going to try to flag a couple options. We'll be bringing a resolution and proposal after we meet with the director of the CSU and the CSU board chair. We're going to pass a resolution before we ask the CSU board to like support that resolution, like we did with the Dakota Lounge, but we'll be working on that. You all can see it if you want to work on it. Please let us know. We would love if you could help us with that. Beyond that, I met and spoke to incoming PSEO students about how we can help support them and why MSU is a good option. Beyond that, I have some updates on the transfer work group. So the provost, Dean Veltsos and Dean Wallace have been in charge of like the transfer work group. I'll be reaching out. I got like a 3 days notice that it was meeting during finals week and to get students for it. I couldn't make it because it was during finals week. It was also 3 days notice, so we weren't able to find other people. They've now broken up into subgroups. I am working to get a student on each of those 3 subgroups. I was not aware they broke up into subgroups. I just figured we hadn't met since because no one had told me anything about it. So we're gonna fix that one real quick and make sure there's student voices in the room. But we have been invited to help create a transfer, what is it called? Like, not a panel, but they'll be meeting with you to hear more about a transfer focus group. So if you were a transfer student and came into MSU with 30 or more credits from a different institution, their requirements, not mine, please send me a message. I already know there's a couple around the table that would like to share their experiences. We can have, I believe it was 6 to 9 students. Please let me know by the end of the week. It'll probably just be like 1 meeting, maybe 2 if they need to follow up. That way you can share your experience and let them know what you'd like to see from the transfer process. But again, you need 30 or more credits from another institution or multiple institutions. Again, their requirements are not mine. I think any student that comes in with a couple credits is a transfer student, but that's just a hot take, I guess. Beyond that, there is Gamma Phi Beta works with, what is it called? They work with Girls on the Run, and they put on what's called Moonball. This is our chance at redemption for kickball. Okay, so we can put together a team. Hopefully administration put together a team so they can donate money as well. Maybe we can have a little bit of a rematch for a good cause this time. So please let me know. I'll see if there's money in our budget to compete. It is on Sunday, April 2nd. We need, I believe it's like 9 people or something for a team. I'd like to put together a student government team. It's a great opportunity to support charity as well as practice our kickball skills and hopefully we can beat someone. Other than that, let me see if I missed anything. President Inch had some friends on campus today, so I gave him and his friends a tour of campus. They're from Norway, so it was fun to see what they thought about our campus and what they have talked about. There's been a lot going on with environmental things on campus. If you're interested in the environmental committee, please let me know so I can get you looped in. Other than that, we both attended the Distinguished Alumni Luncheon yesterday. We sat at a table with Dr. Jones, as well as Vice President Straka, Kevin Beisman, the Director of Athletics, as well as the hockey coach, who then went on to win the game that night. So I guess he has to have lunch with us every time before a game, so that way it goes better than Friday, because Saturday was wild. There are tickets for Friday and Saturday. They're now in the conference championship. I do want to give a shout out to our hockey team as well as our women's track team. I think men's did well also for both winning their conference like outright. So that was great. Good job doing that. And the hockey team also paraded their trophy around underground after that. I missed out on it, a little upset, so we need to help them get another trophy so that students can take pictures with it. But other than that, Pedal Past Poverty was great, but I'll let the speaker speak on that.
Absolutely.
I yield.
Do we have any questions for President Zelmer? Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and run in with my officer report. Try to keep it brief for you all. You guys love when I get to talk about this. Office hours are due this week, so you can submit those via Presence, or if Presence isn't working, you can send it to me in an email. Thank you very much for the people who have been turning in their office hours and have been making sure to get them all done. If you're a couple hours short, don't worry about it, it's okay, I get it. But if you're looking for cool, fun ways to make up those office hours, there's a lot of really cool, fun opportunities, like what Emma was talking about. If we want to put together like a moonball team, that could be office hours. But other than that, I am going to touch on Pedal Past Poverty, because this last weekend we got to compete in that. It was a fun time. It was for a good cause. It was for Partners for Housing, a charity that fights against houselessness, and it went absolutely wonderful. We biked a lot, and it was very hard, and I want to give a particular shout out to the person who biked the farthest, and in 15 minutes, John biked 5.1 miles, which is very impressive. I want to give a shout out on that, but everyone did an amazing job. Big thank you to the friends who came for that. It was awesome, and it was a wonderful time. Other than that, I want to remind you all that we have 2 meetings until, well, not really, but we have 1 meeting, and then it's our big budget season, our big budget meeting. So make sure that you're reading up on those documents, but also we're almost done, and then you won't have to hear us talk about the budget anymore, which is going to be such a relief. If you have any questions about any of the presentations you've seen so far, or if you want to brush up on some of that stuff, it's going to be in the Teams. And also feel free to reach out to us on the exec board, tell us your hot takes so that we know. And I assume that Sierra would be open to emails with questions about further SAC clarifications. Yeah, cool.
No hate mail.
No hate mail. And then I'll open it up if there are any questions for me before I go to the Dean of the Day. Yeah, Senator Menchie.
I just wanted to ask, do we have a meeting next week?
No, we do not. It is spring break. There will be no meeting next week. Vice President Ibrahim.
Yes, okay, I have one more announcement and then I'm done. So we have the Senator of the Month, and that goes to someone who has been proven time and time again for their dedication fighting hunger and scarcities, and also came with us in advocacy days even though we didn't meet our representatives. That will be James Seward. Excuse me. James Seward, and he's he's joining us in over Zoom today, but we have his certificate here.
We'll give it to you when we see you in the office.
So we'll give it to you when you
Congratulations.
Sorry, you're gonna get
Yeah, any further questions from me? Any further questions? Seeing none, I'm going to pass it off to our Dean of the Day, Dean Brown.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
As always, well, I'm Dean Brown. I'm the Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Science. I'm the Dean that's working on this large-scale merger of departments. It's always wonderful to come here and hear the great work you are doing. I want to emphasize what President Zelmer stated about transfer of students. Lending your voice to this conversation is very important. It's an important initiative to the university. Yeah, thank you again for inviting me and allowing me to be Dean of the Day.
Amazing. Thank you very much. All right, then in that case, we're going to move right along to our senator reports. Senator Menchie.
I'll try to keep it very short, but since last semester I've been working on collecting different resources, the post-degree employment and internship resources for the international students. And me and Killian Kling, we've been working on this library webpage dedicated to those resources. So this semester I was working mainly on making it accessible, and what I was doing, I was reaching out to different resources on campus, including the Career Development Center, Kearney International Center. I've been communicating with Pamela Weller from the Career Development Center and showing her the materials we have for the potential display on the CDC webpage and the MNSU website. She actually found these materials very useful and interesting, passed the information to the Assistant Director, Alexis Persons, for the review, and so she can ideally update the website soon, the CDC webpage and the MNSU website. I've been also negotiating with Elisa Morrison, the Assistant Director of the Kearney Center, for the potential for displaying those materials on the KIC employment webpage, as well as I've been working closely with Killian Kling on developing small handouts for the new freshman international students. So those small handouts would ideally have QR codes that will lead them to all the resources we have on campus. All the essential resources we have on campus. And so far I've been collecting feedback from multiple international students from different backgrounds on what resources they found essential and what they wish they knew when they just arrived here. So we can have this information that will include mental and physical well-being, academic success. That would also include the employment webpage link, and yeah, stuff like that. So that's what I've been working on, and I'll stand for questions.
Amazing. Do we have any questions? Any questions at all? Seeing none? You're doing an amazing job. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up I have Senator Blanchard.
I will also make mine quick. So what I've been doing, I'm a residential life senator, so I've been attending RHA meetings, which is Residence Hall Association, pretty much weekly, giving them updates on what we've been doing in here, and kind of getting their feedback. They're kind of a lot more quiet than we are, but we've gotten a couple senators out of there, which is really great. I went to the advocacy conference. We tried to do some advocating, and I had a really good time. We got to go find some representatives that were not leaving, running away from the snow. Imagine being a representative in Minnesota and running away from the snow. Can't believe that. And then the biggest thing that I've been working on is textbook affordability, like how we can implement open educational resources and things into classes, so we don't have to pay so much. So I've been serving on the Library Textbook Affordability Group and the Library and Bookstore Committee. Another thing we're working on is exploring ways to make the Maverick Textbook Reserve more efficient and work better, because right now there's a lot of money being spent on that for the amount of use that it's getting. So we're trying to explore different ways. If anybody has suggestions, we're all ears. Yeah, and then also I've been working on the resolution that is going to be up next here on low-cost textbook course marketing. So that's what I've been up to.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions at all? Seeing none, thank you so much for all the work you do. All right, next up, we have vacancies listed. Vacancies are of course closed, but we have them published here so that they're available knowledge. So we're gonna move right into new business. The first one up is the course marking feature on e-services resolution, which Senator Blanchard is the main motioner for. So I will let you start with the discussion on this and introduce the motion. Thank you. Can I have a microphone? What's that? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's really loud. So this is a resolution that the Library Textbook Affordability Group has really been looking for. I have a couple handouts included with it. The ones that are, say, they're blue, they say Minnesota State on the top. The one I'll have you guys all look at is the student information. So this is something that's been being worked on at the system for quite a while. As you can see, phase 1 began in March of 2020, and phase 1 included 7 community colleges that have included this feature. As you can see in the little diagram, it's right when you register for courses, you can do a little drop down, and it'll have no cost for textbooks. This is especially important, especially when you're looking at gen eds and different things, just as another way to be able to highlight those instructors that are using open educational resources or different things, rather than a $300 access code. But yeah, so the resolution basically says that we would like the university to implement it, and it also says that when we transition out of e-services, that we'd like it to be kept.
Thank you very much. I will also note for those of you on Zoom that these handouts were also sent out in the email, so if you're having a hard time finding them, they're in the email with the agenda. Do you have anything else that you want to say, or pass it off to the second? All right, Emma Zelmer as the President, Zelmer as the second, would you like to speak on the motion?
Sure, I think this has been a priority for a long time. I remember sitting here in 2018, it was like my second Senate meeting as a senator, and they talked all about open educational resources, and I really thought it was going to be a thing by the time I left this institution, and it's not. So I think this is a great way to incentivize faculty members to create those, as well as to not reward, well, I mean, students taking your classes I hope is a reward, but it really helps ensure that students who are trying to keep their costs low can. Z degrees have been found to be a great way to bring students in. Z degrees means 0 textbook cost degrees. There's a few programs around the system. I'm not sure if we have any here at Mankato that are specifically outlined as a Z degree. But they've seen large enrollment increases. It's a great opportunity for non-traditional students and online courses. So I think it's really important that we, also I think the e-services feature where you can filter classes by that is just a great add-on. I yield.
Very nice. Well, we're going to go into a question period. I will note that how the process normally works is we would bring this up, and then spring break is this next week, so we will see this after spring break 2 weeks from now at our next regular meeting as it currently stands. Do we have any questions or discussion points? Senator Roberts.
Motion to expedite.
There's a motion to expedite on the table. Do we have a second? I see a lot of seconds. I'm going to take the second from Senator Blanchard. Do we have any dissent to a motion to expedite? Dissent. That's valid. What we're going to do, we're now talking about the motion to expedite. We are not talking about the resolution itself. So these are only topics on expediting, not the resolution. Is there any discussion on the conversation to expedite? Senator Pickle. Oh yeah, you get to go first.
So, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. The reason we expedite is to move something along that's time sensitive. This is not one of those things. I believe that if we were to give it these couple of weeks where we can discuss it further, maybe a good idea comes up where we would want to add something to this resolution. We are able to do that. I just think that it's just kind of overusing our powers to expedite. So.
All right, Senator Roberts.
The main reason why I motion something to be expedited is it isn't a controversial thing. If there's things that we need to adjust in the future, there's always future resolutions on this. We're always going to have situations as years progress where we want to see something improved or something new, or see a new House file that we want to support that's in conjunction with this. There's no reason in my head to wait longer and spend a lot more time on future meetings on something that's not going to be controversial here.
Blanchard.
Yes, I do request that we do expedite this. We are meeting with the IFO on March 16th to bring this to them. The way that this is going to work is all of the sub-meet and confer groups will have to approve it before it can be implemented into the university. And so in order for that process to get started, it'd be nice if we already had this passed through student government. I know there's also another meet and confer group tomorrow. I'm not sure if it'll be done by, it'll be on that agenda, but it'd just be nice to have it done so that we can say we have Senate support right away.
For reference, since that meeting with the IFO is going to be on the 16th, I will highlight that our next Senate meeting will be on the 15th, only one day prior. Is there any further discussion on the motion to expedite?
I just withdraw my dissent.
Oh, is there any other dissent? Does anybody else dissent to this? Okay, then seeing no dissent, it is expedited, no vote necessary. Moving forward, this is just back to talking about the resolution itself. Is there any points of discussion on the resolution itself? Senator Pickle? Call the question. Is there a second? Second, is there dissent to a call to question? Call to question is saying we're gonna vote on this now. No more discussion. Seeing, is that dissent?
Yeah.
Dissent, okay. We have dissent, so we have division. Once again, this is just talking about whether or not we're gonna call to question. We're not talking
I
about.
will withdraw the second, if MS
There was,
Can I explain my dissent?
yeah, please explain your dissent.
The
and then we'll
reason
get
I
into this.
dissent is people watching this, although they heard like why this is happening, I think it's fair for at least like one or two people to share why this is important to campus, so that way students understand kind of what we're talking about and why it's a good idea beyond just the people bringing it up. Even with things that have passed really easily, always there's been like one or two people that have talked about it, except for, well, even a vacancy election. So I think also give the reporter some quotes, you guys. So I think we should have at least like a couple people talk about why they support it, what it is, and why it benefits their constituency. When I say one or two, I mean one or two and not like repeating talking points all the time.
All right. This is still in the conversation about whether or not we're calling to question. So,
withdraw my second.
you withdrew your second. There was another withdrawn motion. Okay. No longer calling to question. Discussion. Senator Royger.
I was just gonna say that this would be really awesome for students because I know a lot of times it varies by which section you're in, how much you're gonna spend on your textbooks, and so you could be in a section that is free textbooks, but then you've got friends that are, you know, $300-400 for a textbook. So I think this would just help students overall.
Amazing. Thank you. Next up, I have Mesta.
Yeah. So part of what they're discussing about the e-services feature, this is actually a feature that I worked on last year with the committee for Mid-State. When we reviewed this. So not every college has this feature, but some do. So like Inver Hills has this feature where there's free textbooks labeled on the e-services page. This actually really improves a lot of students to find classes where they can't pay for those textbooks and already have their budget in line. So they're not expecting a $200 textbook first week of class. So I support this resolution because it makes students easier to find courses that are cheaper, affordable to take, that offer those OER textbooks.
Thank you very much. Senator Destin.
Yeah, so I do support this resolution for the same reasons, and just because students have a lot of financial stress already to budget for. People have tuition, they have room and board, they have a lot of other things that they can focus on. So having a policy like this where they can have like a free textbook, I think is going to help students to spend money on things that matter most to them.
Thank you very much. Senator Wing.
So I'm going to echo a very similar sentiment. Also to point out the fact that textbook costs sometimes fly under the radar, and we've already talked about whether or not a text or the required text is listed when students are registering for classes. I know Destin and I are in a class right now that requires a textbook that is no longer even being published. The author's been dead for over 10 years, and so that book is now a collector's item and costs $200 plus, so students are forced to find the less than legal options to get their textbook. So having this as an option is incredible, and I think it's got my total support.
Senator Roberts.
I'll echo everything that has been said by all the senators before, but I also would like to add that generally when it comes to OERs and alternative textbooks out there, it also encourages a lot more creativity when it comes to designing classes too. That end up being a lot more beneficial for the educative experience because they have to go find some of these other materials. Maybe materials that wouldn't be ordinarily seen if they used the same old Cengage textbook that costs $400.
Senator Royger.
I just also wanted to add that I think this could also help with retention rates because students may go into registering for a course and be like, oh my gosh, there may be a $200 textbook. I don't know if I can afford that times 5 classes. What if I have to drop out of university? Whereas having these options being known could help keep students here as well. So.
Senator Blanchard.
I just felt like I needed to say a little more because Emma said we were going too fast. But the big thing that I like about this feature is that it's already implemented into e-services. It's already there. I've been working with Dr. Carrie Miller. She said that they're already looking into it at IT about how they can just turn it on, and then once it gets approved to university. Another thing to speak to is we would be the first university, if it does get used, we'd be the first university in the system out of the 7 to be using this, and I think it really sets Mankato apart. We're already one of the most affordable, or the most affordable university in the mid-state system, and it just shows that we're working for our students rather than just for the bottom line.
Thank you very much. President Selmer.
You all really made me regret.
You knew what you were getting into.
It was a great discussion, but I did say 1 or 2. And with that, I call the question.
All right, we have so many seconds. Is there any dissent to a call to question? Any dissent? Seeing none, this is non-controversial, so we're going to do this by raise of hands and placards. On Zoom, use the check mark feature, please. If you are in favor of this resolution, please raise your placard or place a check on Zoom. It looks unanimous in here. How are we looking on here? 3. Okay, thank you. Placards down and check marks down on Zoom. And then do we have any opposed? Use a red X on Zoom if you are opposed, or raise a placard or a hand in the room if you are opposed. Okay. Do we have any abstentions? Any abstentions? Seeing none, this bill passes unanimously. All right, moving right along, we have our second item of new business for today. The second one is the International Students Internship Class Registration Resolution. I will notice, we're going to send a mic. I would like to draw attention to this bill still needs a second. So while we can get the introduction by the motioner, okay, we have a second. Okay, cool. Then go for it. This was motioned by Senator Abera.
Okay.
Or just talk really loud.
Yeah.
Can you, okay. So this, thank you, and this motion proposes international students to support them to register for the required internship class without having to pay for tuition and health insurance balance. So a little introduction. International students are not allowed to work off campus. They're only allowed to work on campus with a restriction of working only 20 hours. And for internships, there is an exception that they can work with OPT and CPT. CPT is while they're studying, and OPT is after they graduate. So when they get the job or the internship, before they actually start working, they have to meet 3 requirements to get the work authorization from the International Center, and the first one is finishing the CPT or OPT form, and the second one is obtaining an offer letter from the company, and that letter should show that the roles are related to their major or their field, and has to show the actual roles. And the third requirement is registering for the internship class. So the internship class is just give them the option to work. There is no any coursework related to that can affect their transcript or anything. So in order to register for that internship class, they have to pay their tuition or health insurance balance, and this creates a financial burden for students who are struggling financially because the situation that is happening in their home country, and but internship can provide a source of income to help them to pay off their balance and deny them this access due to the financial constraints might hinder their ability to complete. And as a personal experience, I found an internship last semester, around the end of last semester, and they offered me to work throughout the winter break and also this semester. but because I didn't pay my balance, I wasn't able to work that, so it was a little bit hard time to actually finish paying and start working for me this semester. We might not see as a big issue coming, because I think that's because the amount of students who actually get internship is very less. But for students who actually got internship and couldn't get the opportunity to work is very stressful for students and myself. And I actually had a meeting with the director of KIC, JC Fry, this morning, and she showed me the interest that this is a good topic, and she wanted me to emphasize the point that the internship class is not the same as like other classes course load. It just gives the opportunity to get the work authorization and not related to any courseworks that can affect the work authorization. So I yield.
Thank you very much. Senator Destin, as the second, you may speak on this, but since you were just recently added, you can also choose not to if you so choose.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him, even though I was not on the document. So basically, like he was saying, the resolution is not saying students should be allowed to register for courses. The resolution instead is saying they should be authorized to work even though they have a tuition balance. So like he shared his personal experience, there are a lot of students who really depend on their pocket to pay for tuition. They do not have any source of payment other than to work and pay their tuitions or whatever bills they have. Preventing them from doing the internship automatically put them in a spot where they cannot afford, where they cannot pay the tuition balance that they're holding in the first place. So his resolution is advocating that if this student has a tuition balance and they have a job, this job is the means of paying the balance. So let them to work and so they can be able to pay the balance. Because if they cannot work, then automatically there's no way they can clear that debt. So we are just advocating for these students to be in a position where they can show proof of employment in the first place. Like he said, his internship is a proof of affordability, even though that money is not physically present, but if he works, he can pay his balance. So he's not going to register for classes, but he should be, so international student has to be approved before they can go out to do the internship. And that's what this resolution is outlining. Let them to go and do the work, and if they cannot pay the tuition or the balance by maybe the start of the term, they still cannot register for classes, so there's no need of even, from my perspective, there's no need of restricting them because they will not be able to be enrolled. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. We're now going to open it up to questions, and once again, I don't know that this would be discussed now and then voted on 2 weeks from now at our next regular meeting. I see a lot of placards going up. President Zelmer indicated that she wanted to talk on this, so President Zelmer?
I have a discussion point, not a question, so if anyone has questions, you can go before me.
Senator Roberts.
Is this accounting the $1,000 buffer, or no, in terms of the registration block, in terms of that?
If they can get to that minimum allowance of $1,000, they obviously can register for the internship class, but not all students can even get to that point.
Thank you very much. President Zelmer?
Are there any other questions?
Oh, that's a question? Cool. Okay, put your placards down if you don't have a question right now. We're just going to go through the questions real quick. Senator Blanchard.
I guess I'm just a little confused. You said that they register for the internship class, but then you said it doesn't affect any like coursework or anything. Don't you get credit for the internship class? That's why you have to pay for it?
You can get credit, but you don't have to actually submit any assignment or anything that is, you can get credit for it.
So that's what you're paying for when you register for the class is the credits that you don't pay.
That's the credit, yeah. But you don't need to do anything that is actually coursework related that you can send me or anything. Or that follow-up? Or that is something that is graded or something.
Can I ask a follow-up? So there's no coursework? Because I know for College of Business, you're required to do like a paper, and then you have to do like some journaling of like what you're doing at your internship, and then you have to do like a final like evaluation, like presentation type of thing. Yeah.
So basically what he was trying to say is that So you don't get to sit like using university resources to learn that kind of format. However, the internship, you are getting credit based on the internship you do. It is not based on you using the resources the university has, like professors teaching you or using the classroom materials and all of those things. And the credit is not more than 3, I guess. It depends on the internship, but it's not that huge. And what he's saying is, instead of you trying to let that student to not be enrolled at all, because if you prevent them, what that means is that they would not be in school. So let them do the internship. Even if they will not be enrolled in school, at least if they raise that money and they can clear the balance, they'll be enrolled. If they cannot, then automatically they can be enrolled during the semester. So, yeah.
Senator Parikh.
Okay, first of all, totally in support of this motion, but
Questions right now. Questions.
yeah, I am going to my question. Especially talking about the health insurance, if we pass this motion, we would be saying that even if somebody doesn't have health insurance, that person will be allowed to work. What if something happened to that person? Who will be responsible for that person, considering that person doesn't have any health insurance? And as university, we do permit them to work outside.
For the health insurance piece, I have similar concern. I was discussing it with him. However, the health insurance payment, I know that most of it covers like some of it goes into the time of that internship. Internship is not going to be more than 5 full, like something. So the health insurance we get as international student, for the most part, it goes into the frame of your internship, like the time frame. So even if you have like a health insurance for this semester and you have an internship that you can do maybe online or in person, the current health insurance you have is going to cover you. The piece of the resolution that he's focusing on is not letting that student to register because he has like a tuition balance. So for the health insurance part, if it's a little bit controversial, myself, I have that concern, we can clear that out. So.
Senator Dermanji.
Yeah, just a clarifying question. So, international students have to be registered as a full-time students, 12 to 18 credits. So if you register from 12 to 18 credits, it does not affect the payment. Like, you pay the same amount for classes. So are you talking about taking an internship course during the spring or fall semester or during the summer semester? Because that is different.
For example, the company that I'm interning right now offered me for the summer too, and I asked the training center about it. They told me I have to register for the internship class for the summer section.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So that's what you're talking about, not during the regular semesters.
That still affected me last night, but it will more affect on the summer because more internships are on the summer, and it's 3 months. And if the students can work on that time, they can make good money that can help their financial status. So yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking that during semester it doesn't really affect.
Yeah, during semester,
it's
not. Yeah, but for the summer.
Senator Pickle.
I guess I just have a little question, concern. So with the health insurance balance part, it's my understanding that international students have to have health insurance to be legal in the country through the university. So I'm just curious because you say like without having to pay off their tuition and health balance, would this be legally permitted? That's just my concern.
Yeah, that's also a concern that I just got when I talked to Senator Justin and President Zellmer earlier. We might have to look into some other policies about how we want to implement this, but yeah.
Senator Roberts.
I think this is similar on what Dermenji was trying to get, but I wasn't fully clear. So in terms of, say they don't have the ability to afford that next semester, so say they're going into the fall or the spring, how does that affect the visa status if they only are going to be able to end up signing up for 3 internship credits, but this only accounts for internship credits but doesn't account for the rest of the academic load? How does that affect visa status?
Are you willing to defer to Senator Dermanji?
Yeah, so international students are allowed to take less than 12 credits in summer.
No, I'm talking about in the fall or in spring.
So,
Like during school?
could you repeat
During
that?
the school year.
The
yeah.
school year.
Could you clarify on that?
So like, hypothetically, in the fall, it's going into the fall or going into the spring, right?
Mhm.
They have higher than that $1,000. You talked about the idea that they might not be able to get to that $1,000 line. What happens then in terms of visa status if we let them sign up for the internship, but they can't sign up for the rest of the academic course load that they need
Oh,
as a result?
yeah, so they have to be at 12 to 18, otherwise their procedures gets terminated.
Yeah, so just clarify this a little bit more. For example, after they are done with the full semester, they have a month or something, the winter break before the spring semester. Working for that 1 month might be helpful. They might, for example, me, I was trying to come up with a lot of options to finish paying off around January so that I can register to my whole class. But I won't go that further if I already got the option to work at least for that month. But this more affects when it's on the summer because it's 3 months.
President Zelmer.
Cool. So, sorry, are there any other questions?
I have a motion.
Can I speak first?
Can I motion first?
What's
Robert's rule?
So technically a motion does take precedence. Would you like to state your motion?
Yes, I would like to motion this until next Senate meeting, and if I
We
may
would
speak,
discuss
alright?
it next Senate meeting anyways.
The current status is that that's how it would flow.
Well, may I speak on my motion?
The motion is just to do what we were already going to do.
No, but like before discussion and everything, because it just seems like this needs more, like with the legalities of it, it seems like it needs more research. So it would end discussion, and then we would just end the meeting.
You can make a motion to end questioning if you want, and then we
I
would
withdraw my motion, I guess.
we would do this later.
That's
But
fine.
anyway,
I withdraw my motion.
Yeah, President Zelmer, continue.
Can I make a point of clarification?
Oh my God.
Point of clarifications technically supersede questions or discussion points. Go right
No,
ahead.
it was just
Yeah.
so there's not any legal implications with this thing. It is just the university policy of not letting you to register because you have excess amount of money you owe. So just to clarify.
President Zelmer.
Thank you. Okay, so we discussed in the hallway on this, or all three of us. We all agree that we need to make sure that we understand what the federal laws are, all of that. The health care part has a big part of that because that is federal law that healthcare is required in order to maintain visa status. We've discussed that with splitting payments and everything. Continue to discuss that with administration as well. However, I would like to mention that this motion touches on a bigger issue at the university about internships for everyone, not just international students. That being, let's say an internship's required for your major. The internship isn't 12 credits, but that's going to be your full time and you can't take extra classes. Now you no longer qualify for some grants. You no longer qualify for some loans. So you need to make sure you can cover that in order to take that internship for all students, not just international students. So this is touching on a bigger systematic issue. I think that there are ways that we can phrase this that would make most of this discussion and the really the questions that are really hitting hard kind of go away and also affect more students than just international students in our university community as a whole. That being the $1,000 limit on how much of a balance you can hold. I want to give a little bit of insight into holding a balance on your tuition before that spirals as well. Prior to COVID, I believe you could only have a $100 or $200 balance on your account, or you couldn't register for classes. The system office said during COVID, you can have it, or we're making it $1,000. Since then, the system office said, you can do what you want. The universities and colleges can decide how much of a balance they want to let students have at their university. Our university, thank you, Vice President Straka, Jones, et al., for maintaining having a higher balance than some other universities. Do you want to add anything on the balance portion? Go for it. I yield to Vice President Jones.
So system policy, the president's totally right. It was $100 a couple years ago. The system raised it to $500. Our campus has sought permission to do a pilot program at $1,000. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so our university is doubling system requirements and really pushing for that, so thank you to them. I think a resolution could include something about how much of a balance a student should be able to hold. Also with the internships, I know we met with the vice president of the faculty association on our campus. Some majors have moved to making internships a larger amount of credits. That way it still qualifies for FAFSA grants and loans. Because that is a big thing where it's like, all you have left to do is your internship. If it's only 6 credits, that's still thousands of dollars. And now you can't have your loans apply to it. Or for international students, obviously, we could have like 4 international students being able to have it be less credits. That way they still qualify without having to cover 12 credits. But I know for domestic students, that's a big point of being able to cover it with grants and loans. Because otherwise, you're gonna leave with student loan debt only missing your internship credits. Now you don't have a degree to show for all the work you've done. So I think over spring break, we have plenty of time to take this back to the drawing table. Maybe we come up with some friendly amendments to make sure that this is all working within. I also think it'd be irrational of us to ask the university to violate federal laws. I think we would want to pass a resolution that advocates for a change in federal laws rather than the university to violate any laws. I think that would show us wanting to work with faculty or work with administration. And I know the university administration wants to make it easier for international students and students across the board, but oftentimes they're held back by federal and state laws, so we need to look into those. I think we can go back to the drawing board on this. And again, this would be discussed again next week. We can always table it or withdraw it and work on other resolutions. I yield and call this discussion to question.
More than calling to question, it would be a motion to end discussion. By doing that, without expediting this, we are going to be talking about this again at our next regular meeting. I also really want to point out, I want to thank you so much for all of the work that you've done in this, and we are not trying to be harsh. You did an amazing job, and this is wonderful. It's just it's a very big thing. And that is why I think that some people want to make sure that it's very much so lined up, but you did a wonderful, amazing job. We currently have a motion to end discussion. I see some other placards on the table. I'm going to ask if there's a second on the motion to end discussion. I see seconds. Is there a dissent on the motion to end discussion? I see a dissent on the motion. Would you like to speak on your dissent?
I would like to have a moment to talk about this. There was the questions that we changed the motion. I get that, but I would also like to have a little bit of time to further discuss some of these ideas that we have potentially on fixing that, so we have a chance to talk about it before break, because there's always that chance we're not going to be able to talk before our next meeting, and it'd be nice to get some of those ideas that fellow senators have on this resolution.
All right, we are now talking on the motion to end discussion, and there was dissent on that. So this is specifically talking about the motion to end discussion. Keep in mind, there's a motion to call the question on that motion. Is there a dissent on that? Dissent. Okay. I didn't ask for a second because I figured that there would be. And okay, we have a dissent on that. So I'm not going to let us go deeper than 2 motions deep. That's my personal rule. So instead of going into a discussion on the motion to end that, I'm just going to ask you, do you retract your statement?
I retract my
Thank you very much. Then in that case, back on the conversation, do we want to end discussion on this motion? I see a conversation from Senator Wing.
We have 2 weeks break between when we're supposed to vote on this. I would like to give them as much information as possible and any recommendations that we can so that they have that time to look at this if they so choose. I think that ending discussion right now is, I get we're encroaching on our time. I just feel like a brief 2-3 minute more discussion could be very beneficial for the individuals that are making this motion.
I'm going to make a slight recommendation real quick. If we want, we can call the question right now. Yeah, okay, perfect. Then let's talk about it real quick, because then we can waste less time talking about that motion and just talk about the motion at hand. Senator Destins.
Yeah, so
first of all, we recognize that this is a real big issue to advocate for, and we appreciate the work that the university does, especially with giving us like $1,000 balance to allow us to, there's a flexibility right in there, and we acknowledge that. So this resolution is basically just asking for more flexibility. It's not more like a demand, because we know there's a lot of different issues around it. So we're just asking for more flexibility, especially when the student is depending on this internship as a means of paying his balance, because this balance is the reason he cannot be approved. And if he thinks the internship is going to make him to earn the money to pay his bills, we're just asking for that flexibility again, so that he can still be restricted from registering for classes and all that, but just to do the internship and pay his bills. I think that's what the resolution is aiming at.
All right, Senator Bryant.
Oh,
Or did you retract?
I did, but I was just gonna say, to go off of what Emma said, an opinion or an option to add on would be to raise the credit amount for the internships. Because with education, you have to student teach, and that credit is 12 credits, so I don't have to do anything else. So I still get grants and scholarships and everything else. So
Thank you very much. Senator Wings.
So one thing that I wanted to recommend before we see this again in a few weeks is in the tail end of this resolution, in the be it resolved section, having some sort of decisive action that we're recommending, not just saying that we advocate for it, but to actually recommend a certain action. Otherwise, I feel like this is just a puff piece that's going to be dead in the water. And so I just want to make sure that we're doing our research in the next couple of weeks, so that way we can recommend some sort of action that the university takes, so that way we can actually see something done about this in a timely manner.
Senator Rivera.
I just need to add one point on a point that Senator Destin said. So we are also looking for the university to, or the Kearney International Center to consider, especially for students that can actually prove that they're in financial hardship and they're gonna depend on that internship to cover those expenses.
Okay. Do I have any other points of discussion on this motion? Any other points of discussion on this motion? Yeah, President Zelmer.
This just brings up a great point. If you think your motion might, if you think that people might not understand every part of your motion, it's great to talk a lot about it outside of it, especially with federal laws. I know this was brought up in like the healthcare one. It's really important that we know what all goes into it. So make sure that you're talking about it with other senators outside and you talk about it in committees when possible. I know we've been having a lot of joint ones and budget stuff is coming up, but that is often helpful with making sure that these meetings go a little quicker.
All right, do we have any other points of discussion on this motion? Any other points of discussion? And seeing none, we're gonna close discussion on this, and we're gonna see it again in 2 weeks. Again, thank you so much. It's a really important issue, and you did a great job putting this together, and I can't wait to see it in 2 weeks. All right, we're gonna move on. We do not have any old business. We will in 2 weeks. And we're gonna go to announcements. Do we have any announcements? President Zelmer.
It's called the Blue Budget Book. We get it every year. It is now in the Student Government Office. That will have all of the student activity fee stuff, everything that SAC's seen, so you get to see people's requests, what line items are. I encourage you all not to get, or I would advise you all not to get too in the weeds on each line item, just because when we recommend a cost, we can't be like, you need to cut this from your budget. It's not how it works. But you can spend any time you want in the Student Government Office flipping through pages of budget work so we all know what we're talking about. Next Senate meeting, I hope y'all have a great break. Before the next Senate meeting, we'll be having a joint committee to kind of discuss some budget stuff. That way we get any like hot takes or big ideas out on the floor before we're like 9 hours into a budget meeting. Hopefully it won't be 9 hours, I apologize, you look scared. And then we'll also be meeting after the Senate meeting next week. So please don't like make plans outside of like already scheduled class in 2 weeks yet. And really start thinking about it. Also, thank you for the Student Allocation Committee, all of its members, for all the great work you did and the hours spent.
Senator Pickle.
Is this Blue Book available digitally?
It is in the Teams site, right?
You will be tomorrow morning.
It'll be in the Teams site tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much. Announcement from John, I see.
Sure. Thank you, Speaker Novak. In addition to being right in the heat of budget season, we're also getting into the heat of election season. As a reminder, For those who are considering running for elections, there are candidate meetings with the Chief Election Commissioner that start on Wednesday, March 15th. That's the Wednesday after you get specced from spring break. So there's one then, the 21st and the 22nd. Candidates running for president and vice president must file their candidacy applications by March 27th. So that again is less than a month away now. And then anybody running for a Senate or a board position needs to file their candidacy by Monday, April 3rd. The elections are the 10th and the 11th, so 6 weeks from now we're going to be seeing election stuff happening. So just a reminder, and then that also does tie to your budget season, because on election day, depending on what you choose to recommend, there could be a fee increase on the ballot as well. So that's something to think about, not only as you actually determine what those fee recommendations are, but how you are going to explain that to your constituents and all of that stuff. So there is, by constitution, a required open session for students if you're going to recommend a fee increase of over 2%, or any fee increase that has to go on the ballot has to have an open session to go with it. That gets done in conjunction with the president and vice president forum that happens in the election season. So that's kind of what your timeline's leading up to. When you get back on Wednesday, you're going to have the CSU fee presented, and you're also going to have the technology fee presented. So those are your next two fees that you're going to have requests come to you for. And then the week after that is when you will have the long meeting, during which you'll make your recommendation for the student activity fee and the athletics fee. So that's the next couple of weeks. Keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions of folks around the table, or me, or the requesting departments, that kind of stuff. We can try to help you as best we can. I hope you have a fun and safe spring break, all that good stuff. Just a reminder also, on the 15th, that is the deadline for the scholarship that I shared with you that our bargaining unit is offering for the first time. And so that you've seen a flyer in one of your agenda announcements from Speaker Novak, so there is that. That's due the 15th as well. And then we did get confirmation recently of the Barnes & Noble Leadership Award that we did not think was going to be able to be awarded right away, because the Barnes & Noble contract is up for renewal right now, or up for discussion. There's a proposal out. There's submissions that are due, but we are going to go ahead and offer the Leadership Award, and that application is available as well, and due by the end of the month. So.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else for announcements? Anyone else for announcements? Seeing none, closing out announcements. We're going to go to roll call real quick. All right. I see a motion on the table.
Motion to waive roll call.
I figured it was coming. All right. I see a second. Is there any dissent to waive roll call? Thank you. All right. Quick.
Withdraw the motion.
You're recalling it?
Withdraw the motion, yep.
Withdrawn. Okay. Then in that case, let's do roll call. All right. Senator Hart.
Here.
Thank you. All right. Boo-boo-boo. Senator Schrock. Senator Schrock.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Waldekaiden.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wing.
Present.
Thank you. Senator DaVinci.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wynn. Thank you. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Rivera.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goma. Senator Narala.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. Senator Tapp. Senator Tapp. Senator Pickle.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez. Mendez Martinez. Not here. Senator Zigweed. Senator Zigweed.
He just texted me. He's probably facing some issues with the internet.
Oh, sad. Rest in peace. All right. Senator Mesta. Here. Thank you. Senator Mueller. Thank you. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Destin.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Blanchard.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goff. Senator Goff? No, Goff. Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Royger.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Andrew.
Here.
Thank you. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer. Here. Vice President Abraham.
Here.
Bam, bam. All right, we are officially adjourning this meeting at 5:51. That was our longest meeting this semester and still under 2 hours.
Thanks.
That budget meeting's gonna be a slam dunk. It's only gonna be like 7 hours.
How many? I just